Okay, so here I am on camera, and I look like a freaking okay, you know what I mean, a badass. Hold on one second. But this is kind of a spur of the moment thing, but I thought this was interesting. I'm looking at this one is from D&D, but it's the idea of the 9 moral alignments for characters and such. As you can see, I got my super cool bling as per usual. I don't know if you call it bling, but it's the epic logo, and I might talk about this as well at some point more. Maybe I'll do it here, but we'll see. And that's part of what I do too, is sometimes not randomly, I basically do things in a very controlled edge way, and I do them in a way that's like methodical for me. But every now and then I just kind of like don't explain things, and I just do it when I do it. And that's kind of the method here sometimes. So I don't know how to further explain that, because that's the point, because sometimes I just want to get things done, and I do them in a way that makes sense to me. It is actually very organized the way I do it. So that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the moral alignments based on characters. You know, I think this is from D&D, which is kind of lame and crappy, but you know, Dungeons and Dragons. But it's been compared in other things like characters and comics and all that. So I just want to take a look at that, and I want to give you my opinions on some of my favorite ones. And never mind the fact that I basically put something on there that said I'm done, because I definitely am done, which is totally not just me BSing around, because it's not like I said that I'll never quit. You know what I mean? So if I say that I'm done, like, you know, anyway, you know what I mean. Like, I'm done, but, you know, moral of the story is I'm probably going to come back here and there anyway. So it's time to shut the F up sometimes, and by that, I'm going to start talking some more. So let's go ahead and turn the camera. Okay, so here it is, and I've watched a couple videos on this subject, and I thought it was just interesting. So on the spur of the moment, I want to take a look at them and give you my thoughts. So here we go. This is on Wiki How, or what do we call it? Wiki How the hell do I care about this stupid website anyway? Yep. So here they are: lawful good, neutral, chaotic. Uh, we'll read some of them so you get some more basis of what it means as well. Lawful good. Usually compassionate, honorable, and dutiful, strive to be good, and follow a strict code set of laws, working within the system to help others to fight evil. And they give the examples of Superman, Wonder Woman, Captain America, Obi-Wan. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I suppose this is kind of accurate, but whatever, you know. There could be made arguments either way. Although, of all of the ones that are here, my favorites are probably Captain America, I guess, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's definitely one of my favorites, Obi-Wan. Is he really a strict code who follows all of the laws? Well, obviously, in a way, no. In a way, yes, but no, because once in the Star Wars universe, once it becomes like, you know, completely screwed up, where the Empire takes over and everything's going completely haywire, and you got literally, you know, like the Empire is like taking over, and you got stormtroopers basically would probably kill people, or you know. So he still does the right thing, which is not completely follow the rules, and he becomes a rebel in that situation. So I don't know. It depends, right? It really depends on where the law goes in the universes of some of these. So anyway, now does Superman fall? Yeah, Superman's kind of a cornball, or he's kind of. Anyway, on a different subject, on the Superman, just really quick. Um, I actually think there's potential for me to like Superman or whatever, or you know, but my take on it is that he's supposed to be strong. He's not supposed to be just some pushover idiot. He's not supposed to be cornball. He's not supposed to be evil either. He's supposed to be the strong moral code, similar to like Master Chief. Anyway, so let's go to the next one. Neutral good. Strive to believe in goodness, compassion, and less concerned with things of the law, like or chaos. Often follow the rules by default, but aren't afraid to deviate and break the rules. If it means doing the right thing. This is basically my favorite one, probably. This is the one I mostly align with, I would say. This is Captain Kirk, Gandalf, Spider-Man, Luke Skywalker. Oh no, this is my second favorite. My favorite is coming up. So they try to say, for example, like Spider-Man, because he does the good things and heroic things, but sometimes slightly out of the rules, or slightly breaks them because he doesn't follow the laws per se, you know, like the legal system. Um, but generally does the heroic things. So this is what they're describing here. But I do like this one as well. That's a really good one. I like this one as well. Because, yeah, I believe that sometimes to do the good things is not in the eyes of the legal or, you know, what the hell. So basically the prioritization of good freedom. That's one of my favorites. And I think that's coming up here as well. But this is very similar to that. So that's one of my philosophies is good freedom, meaning you're not doing something bad, you're not stealing, you're not doing, you know, nasty things, but outside of that, you kind of should have your own freedoms. It's kind of similar to the anarchical. So let's go down here. True neutral. I think this one was pretty good too. I just want to take a look. They don't really feel strongly towards life. Some simply care about their personal needs foremost and aren't inclined to help or hurt others, nor conform or rebel just against authority. On the other hand, some neutrals believe in balance and strive to prevent any good. This one's interesting too. I kind of like this sometimes. For example, I haven't seen Lord of the Rings. I really should see Lord of the Rings, by the way. It's a different time. Anyway, Harry Potter, who's kind of a dork, but apparently he's one of these. The Watcher from Marvel. I don't know how he fits into. Okay, Laura Croft, Morpheus. I don't. Did they mean Morpheus from the Matrix? I guess that's cool. I don't know. Anyway, okay. So let me think about this. Sometimes this is kind of similar to what I do, because simply for the fact of being able to adapt to things, you know, to the situations. Or in other words, there's some cases, in my opinion, where you have to play the cards because you only have so much of what you only have so much of, right? Like. So that's where this would come into my understanding of that. I wouldn't necessarily be too much into this. For the most part, I would align with the gooder aspects. But you also need to understand that people have their own problems and their own situations. So that's where I like that part of that. So if you're in the position to do complete, you know, such as this, like wait, where were we? Hold on. So just chaotic good or neutral good, then you do that. But if you're not, there's only so much you can do. So that's part of my philosophy on that, comparing to the true neutral. Okay, so let's go down. Chaotic neutral. Follow the rules. Follow their whims, believing personal freedom. Okay, I really like this one too. Unlike chaotic good, they put their own freedom before anyone else or caring about preserving the autonomy. I'm not really sure what that word means, but okay. And then they don't really worry about good or evil. That's not me though. I don't like evil. I'm not evil in any way. So let's see. In other words, they do what they feel best for themselves and don't worry much about everything else. Okay, so on this channel, sometimes I do kind of present that idea a little bit here and there, but I don't ever truly go overboard with it. So character examples: Jack Sparrow, Deadpool, Harley Quinn, Rick Sanchez. Yeah, again, see, some of these I do like, but honestly, for example, Rick Sanchez, I don't know if this is gonna be a controversial opinion. I think he kind of sucks, honestly, because Rick and Morty. And don't get me wrong, like, I mean, he's probably smart. If the way they just make a character that could just do whatever he wants, like science, is complete bullcrap. But for the sake of that, we'll say he is extremely smart. But Rick Sanchez is extremely negative. Like, he's got the philosophy of like, what's that called? The one that's like, you just like, you think that the world sucks. It's like extreme cynicism, basically. I can't remember the name of it, but he's extremely cynical. So I try not to go too far into that. That's why I don't like too much of the philosophy of Rick Sanchez, because he's just like, oh, everything sucks, and I know everything, and screw you, Morty, and blah, 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 and I'm better than you, blah, blah, blah. So I guess it's funny for a character like that, but anyway. Okay, off that topic. Jack Sparrow and Deadpool. Yeah, honestly, I have probably taken inspiration from both of those characters, and they're freaking hilarious. And for example, you might have seen at some point I posted something similar to like that looks like Bugs Bunny somewhere, and it's very much in the same kind of, you know, as this, which is chaotic and neutral. I think that's very hilarious. As long as you know, again, if you stay mostly neutral and you don't stay, if you don't go evil, then yeah, sometimes what's presented out here is similar to this on this channel. Spiral, Deadpool. You could probably obviously see some inspirations, heroic inspirations based on some of these characters, and including Bugs Bunny, because that's it's the idea of the snark side, right? Again, which I haven't even said yet, but I've thought of saying that for a while. But that's where that comes from, right? It's similar to this, the chaotic neutral, meaning like mess around, screw around every now and then, but don't be toxic, and use control edge, which I could get more into what I mean by that. But in other words, you know, be respectful, but also have respect for yourself, and have a little bit of fun every now and then. So that's kind of where that comes into that. So let's go down here. Lawful. Lawful. If this is one I don't like, this is like complete nastiness. Adhere to laws, but don't care about how their actions affect others. Many unlawful are tyrants and twists. Again, I hate this. So that's why I would align with the other ones, which was like chaotic good, because I don't like this. Hold on, let me show you. Villains who are tyrants. I don't like that. So I would never, ever align myself with that idea of lawful evil, or any of the evils, really. So let's just take a look. Alright, and then it's just their own needs, believe acting greater good, or denounce, dominate. Examples: Darth Vader, Thanos. Again, that's why. So I had the idea too, which I might make, which is almost like my take on Thanos in the MCU and how he is this, which is lawful evil. He is not good. Thanos is not, does not have a good point, and I'll just talk about it a little bit here maybe. But basically, so the whole idea of the MCU, Thanos and his philosophy was that, so the best thing to do, because we don't have a lot of we're missing resources. So the only way that we can you know, stop the lack of resources is to cut down on the people that use resources. So we're just gonna wipe out at like half of everyone, which is complete bull crap. It's complete bullshit. That's evil. I can make a whole video on that if I want, but I just wanna. I always thought it was an interesting topic to bring it up, and I might bring it up again fully. But that's basically an example of the villain who wants to play it off or think to himself that he's good when he's truly evil and truly the villain. So that's what I mean by Thanos. And as far as I understand, even the Thanos in the comic is completely different from that. He's just complete evil in the comic, but in the movie, he still is complete evil in the movie. He's just powerful, and the difference is that he plays it off like he's doing something good, or maybe he even believes it, but it doesn't matter because he's getting wrong. Okay, so anyway, Punisher. Sometimes I do like the Punisher, or like, you know, the philosophy of that a little bit too. Grand Admiral Thrawn. Oh, this character I like too, Thrawn. I have not seen much of him, but I've heard of this character, and he seems just like a pretty cool. Agent Smith. No, I hate Agent Smith. Well, not Agent Smith, but he's complete evil. I would never agree with his piece of crap philosophy. He's evil piece of crap. Okay. Bane. Okay. Yeah, so this one I don't like. Yeah. So that's like my most hated one. Okay, neutral evil self is committed to the idea of the evil self, don't care much about specific code, prone to random acts of destruction, without hesitation or regret. Yeah, this is another terrible one. We have enough of these in reality, probably. You know what I mean? Like, this is not just characters. This is the people that can get to top positions, but by doing, like, evil ways. Yeah, breaking Walter. Yeah, exactly. I may have made a video showing Walter White, but again, if you look at the description, I say in there, I don't like his philosophy. That by the end of the show, or really even like not even too far into the show, like maybe even like a few episodes in, he becomes unexcusable. You know, like there's no excuse for Walter White anyway, other than it's just a show, and it's just interesting to watch a show about someone who breaks bad. Anyway, so yeah, so that's prone to random acts of destruction, and no matter how yeah, it's basically someone who just wants to get whatever they want. Again, it becomes almost like Psycho, almost, which is basically what Walter becomes. And then Voldemort, yeah, get the fuck out of here. All right, so this is just fun to look at. You know, I mean, like, none of these are probably based in reality, really, but they are an interesting ones, and I'm just giving my take on like my favorites. Line. Chaotic evil. Personal value personal freedom to the point where they resent being given commands or even working with others. Don't care about others people's lives or freedoms. Yeah, that's nasty. But it definitely describes, yeah, like Joker, Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, this is. So these are the villains it's describing, and so is the other one in a way, and that's where they show up characters that are similar sometimes to like reality. Um, but these philosophies could show up in the fiction, but sometimes again the fiction is fiction, but every now and then you can learn themes from it, and that's why I made videos, for example, recent talk about the themes of things and how they relate to the movies. Okay, so and then unaligned creatures considered with no alignment, animals, beasts. What the hell? What like? That doesn't. Okay, this is a silly one. This doesn't apply to people. But yeah, honest, you know, if you're gonna have an opinion on animals, I mean, animals are great. They don't really have an alignment. Yeah, for the most part, they're just chill. Or you know, I mean, like if there's a predator animal, I mean, I don't know. It depends on the situation. Anyway, lost chaos. That is this something else now? Is that the end of it? Yeah, so those are basically the 9 ones, and I wanted to show the 9, but I couldn't figure out a place for all of them to get them all on screen. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Okay, here we go. We got the rest of it here. We got an actual chart. So, yeah, just taking a look at it again. It's pretty cool looking. And, yeah, lawful good. The knight. I don't really too much go into the lawful good. I am very much more aligned with these examples. Neutral good is my favorite. Because, for example, it says you can do the right thing. It's kind of the idea of sometimes you got to do what makes more sense rather than just what all the authority says to do, depending on the situation, because doing the right thing usually is the right thing over what other people think or over what the masses or establishment tells you what to do. So I like this one. The neutral, outsider. Sometimes I do like this one as well. Unaffected by pedo squabble of the masses. Definitely describes the way I do things sometimes. For example, drama. I don't like useless drama. I don't like drama just for the sake of for nothing, right? Wow. And then this one and this one. These 4 were my favorites. So maybe I'll even rank them, but let me take a look. Chaotic good. Rebellious, fights the system, then does what he thinks is right. Sometimes definitely describes the way I do things, without a doubt. Now, it's not in a way that's bad. It's not in a way that's just for the sake of it or to be, like causing trouble. I don't cause trouble. I'm not a troublemaker. I'm not a bad person. I don't come out here being an asshole. I've even said on here before that this is a non-toxic channel. But the chaotic good, again, I don't like to present anything of what I'm doing as a rebel, especially not without a cause, right? If I'm going to come off as saying something that sounds rebellious or doing something slightly rebellious, is because I like to do it the way I like to do it. For example, some of the stuff on the channel, again, you can come up with a lot of examples of ways I've done that is slightly different, right? Coming up with logo or variations of the logo or next level in video games in life. Again, who's come up with this? Well, you have to be a little bit of rebellious to do things that are like a little bit outside of the norm. So that's where I would align that idea with, right? So it's a little bit outside the norm. It's a little bit WiseBoney, right? It's wise, and it's a wise cracker, meaning I'm not just a cracker of being, a white man. Okay, never mind. But but can joke around sometimes, but also do things in ways that are a little bit, even they maybe seem a little odd, right? But again, the way me displaying that version is not to do it in a random way or a stupid way or a mean way. It's just doing what I do, right? How many people would even make a channel, for example, or would they make something to post of? But beyond that, who would do it certain ways, right? Who would come up with play through and then spell it a certain way? So you have to. I like to represent that certain way because it means to do things the way you like to do them, and for your own freedom of doing the, like just being yourself, right? Doing the version you want to do, right? Without being constrained by opinions. That's kind of what I come up for that. Okay, so chaotic neutral only cares for himself, ignoring morality. Sometimes, right, I may have displayed the idea of that, but for the most part, no, I don't like that either. These I hate. I don't like any of these. I hate psychos. I don't like the villains. I don't like the overlords. These are clearly the villains, right? So they can go after themselves. But for example, if I would have to guess, something like the chaotic good is, so for example, somebody described like Wolverine from Marvel is similar to this. And yeah, I align with that too. I like the idea of that. Does it the slightly rebellious way, but for example, Wolverine or other characters like probably like Punisher, they have a bit of an edge to them, but they're probably good. Or Hellboy, for example. Again, or even Symbiote Spider-Man. I wanted to make videos on that too. But the chaotic good or the neutral outsider, they, for example, they're sure of themselves, and then they'll probably go after the bad person, right? Or if someone screws with them or their family really badly, then they might just they'll snap back a little. So that's where I align with that. I like that idea sometimes. Just display that here. The idea of a hero but a slight anti-hero aesthetic, right? Because if you ever seen those videos, like they say, who did the villains truly not like? Again, this is all just a joke in a way, right? Because it's just like awesome sauce video entertainment, okay? But what makes it interesting is if you look at the characters, like in comics, and you see the anti-heroes, or if they're in movies, or if they're in lala.com or whatever, aka Reddit McScribbleoid, which is just a random joke. But anyway, the villains are not always afraid of the heroes sometimes. Sometimes they are, right? But who do the evil people really dislike? This type, right? Because the type that's like, they're just kind of unbalanced sometimes. They'll do the good thing. And they're all like, for example, like many of the anti or hero types of characters are actually good. They're chaotic good. And sometimes they're organized, right? But the difference is, right, they're not causing trouble usually. It depends, right? You can take it as you will, right? But what they do is they don't like the evil. So as they see the heroes, so a lot of times they'll treat the heroes well, right? Hey, it's my fellow hero. But the difference is, right, with the evil and the chaotic good, which is similar to the rebellious anti-hero, they're just like, hey, we're gonna do what we want. If we see this evil, we're not just like, if you get in our way, we're just gonna beat you up. So that's why I kind of like that. We're not just gonna beat you up. We're gonna beat the hell out of you. Sometimes if you touch us, we're just defending ourselves at that point, and you're gonna get the crap beat out of you. So anyway, it's just for entertainment purposes for the most part what I'm showing here. But I thought this was pretty cool. I thought this was interesting. This came up. Alright, so here's your really cool chart. I'm going to try and wrap this up if I can here because my effing phone is running on low on battery. So yeah, you got some of the cooler characters here now. Look, you got Abraham Lincoln, which is honestly one of my favorites as like a historical figure. In my opinion, represents he's obviously a very good communicator and was like really, he was a lawyer, he was a president, and as far as I know, Lincoln also did not, he didn't even go to law school. He just kind of learned stuff. He became extremely fluent and powerful in his communication and just in general on his own. He just kind of figured that out. So that I like a lot of things about Abraham Lincoln. He represents to me like a very morally good historical figure, and then also a powerful one, because you think about it, Lincoln was like a really tall guy. He was strong and he was smart. He wouldn't say everything, but when he talks, the guy had authoritativeness to him, that's for sure. He had a good moral code. So what else we got here? Yeah, these I don't really like too much. Well, I don't know much about Gaina, but honestly, Gandhi sometimes kind of comes off like I don't know much about him though. I would have to research Gandhi. But the what I wouldn't be too sure on is, here, let me see what it says. Always aim at. I just don't know how much he was like. Was he completely like so peaceful that he didn't stick up for himself? That's the only thing I would think of Gandhi. But I can't really speak on that because I would have to research more into him. V for Vendetta and Thomas Jefferson. Again, I like these types of characters. Thomas Jefferson, probably a genius, probably one of the very important founding fathers of the country. So yeah, that's what then I mean. I definitely like to vibe with the idea of chaotic good. See structure like that, the rights, have your rights, do what's correct. Those times that should see the world differently. Also willing to do what they think. So I can't really see this entire quote, but I'm sure it's interesting. Here we go. James Bond, that's another good role, lawful neutral. Again, a really good one because he represents kind of like the masculine character. You know, the one that's like chill, cool, you know, is very much sure of himself and can just get the job done. You know what I mean? Like, even if he comes off like a, what's the word, womanizer or whatever, but James Bond is the chill dude, similar to Han Solo. Here we go. Heard this one before. This one's kind of dark and a little bit too common nowadays. Han Solo, that's a good one for sure. True neutral. And we are back. Okay, so on that subject, I'll just give a little bit of my take on some of that, or really some of my own. First of all, some updates, maybe, but really just a few things about like the philosophy aspects of what I just seen on there, and my personal takes in some of the philosophy of my own. So yeah, basically, and then on this channel, for example, it's kind of, for example, played up, as I said. It's not always the way I completely do things in every situation. Although, honestly, a lot of stuff that I do everywhere carries everywhere, right? I like to be disciplined, I like to have structure, and I like to do things in a way that makes sense, an organized way. Just like the freedom thing. So that's part of the philosophy too that I usually would follow or preach or whatever, is to have the ability to have your own freedom or to be free, to not be constrained by, whatever it is, if it's opinions or it's, what's the word, tyrannical something. If something becomes tyrannical, I don't want to be held by that. But also just to do your own thing, your own opinions, right? Your own way of doing things, right? Similar to this, right? How many people would make logos? How many people would do things like this or present things on the channel with video games, but also include other things here and there too, and somehow try to mangle them together, right? Like sometimes try to constrain them together and make them work in an epically cool way, right? Not everyone, right? Some people may, but not everyone comes up with certain things. And some of the most quote unquote successful people on a channel or on a social media is because they are a little bit, they do it slightly their own way, or they do it, like I said, like if somebody does social media at all, or if they get on camera, right, they're a little bit something, right? There might be even, I don't know if crazy is the right word, but like we're Delulu, right? So in other words, we think that we're just gonna like change things, or we're just like gonna be some epically cool person who gains a lot of stuff or whatever, or comes up with their own cool opinions, right? That's what it takes, right? In my opinion, to be like, you have to be slightly rebellious because, in other words, you're doing something that the normal person wouldn't sometimes do, right? To be, a high achiever or something. For example, what's the word? Or stuff I came up with besides next level, but high level or level up in your reality as well, right? To come up with stuff like this means that I do and have came up with and will probably come up with more stuff because again, that's the ability to believe in thyself, right? To want to do crazier things that, or maybe I'm just full of it, right? Maybe I'm actually just a normie. I don't know if people knew this. I'm a normie, okay? Here, see? So it's all coming out now, right? Like, I just fit in with everyone. And hey, I don't know if you knew this, but I'm not like impressive in any way. I'm not that smart. I'm just kind of like an idiot, right? I'm not even strong either. So, um, yeah, it is what it is. I don't know if you guys figured this out, but yeah, I'm one of the boys. Okay, so anyway, so what was I saying? Yeah, so the what I was saying at the end there, as far as the philosophy, looking at those, they're pretty cool. The ones that I liked was let me look at it. I had a note here. I believe it was Chaotic Good. Yep, I see neutral good, chaotic good. There was also one that was mostly neutral, like balancer, and then chaotic neutral. I don't like the evil. I don't like the ones that are aligned with like an authoritarian or tyrant or something like that. But as you can see, like some of the characters that I've probably taken inspiration from, besides the heroes, because I definitely do like the heroes as well. But sometimes the anti-hero characters or the rock stars of the world, right? The literal, not just the game company, but the literal rock stars, right? This free spirits, so to speak, right? Like the morality of, you just do what you do, you be yourself, right? And just don't be evil. Don't go around hurting somebody because that's screwed up. Don't start nothing. So that's kind of where it is too. Don't never really start something for nothing, right? Don't go around starting fights for no reason because that's just toxic, and I don't like that. I don't like useless drama. And if you compare those, so they have chaotic good and chaotic neutral, for example. I wouldn't call it that. I would call it more so organized, right? Like organize. What's the word? I don't know, a cause. Like they call it chaotic, but you can call it slightly of your own opinions, but with the intention of goodness and freedom and organization. Because there's nothing wrong with organization. I actually really like organization, especially as someone who's had history in the tech field, and will probably go further in that as well. Um, So I don't align with chaos by any means, but this is just from what they're calling it. But you also have to keep in mind that this is D&D, right? Are these the most well-kept people that came up with this? If that's where they came from, which is Dungeons and Dragons. No, they're probably a bunch of sweaty nerd heads, which is not like I've never been, you know, akin to geekerdy and also having a scratch on my arm. But you see what I mean? Like they probably don't even know the difference. They don't know what's. They just think that chaotic good, like do these words even match together? No, probably not. But if there are twerps out there, which again we've all been there, right? This is about a geek and edge gaming channels. So, but you know what I mean? Like they don't know what the hell they're talking about probably. But anyway, I'm just exaggerating for the sake of it. So anyway, yeah. And then a little bit on that other thing. I don't know if I've said it on the channel, but the idea of one of the philosophies, which where was it called? See, I know what the hell I'm talking about at all times. Control edge. So control edge, part of that is like, to be controlled. So in other words, be calm, be kind, right? Don't be a jerk. Don't start nothing for nothing. But the control edge, which is online with the humor, is you have a bit of an edge sometimes, right? This is a great for dudes especially, but maybe women will have it too. But the control edge means to like you're still capable. You can still do something a little bit wild here and there. You can still be disciplined, or for example, I have videos of me on a e-bike, right? And there's times I've probably gone fast in as well. And there's videos of me working out, right? So that's what that means, like to have a little bit of an edge sometimes, right? Doesn't mean you have to be a jerk. I don't do anything wild. I'm not a crazy person. I'm not always that tough anyway, right? I'm really not the most amazing, although I'm really great at everything. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty much the best at most things that I try. Okay, you see what I mean? But that's what I mean. It's just a little bit, you know, a little bit of cocky every now and then, right? Not in a mean way, not in a jerk way, but just to know that if something comes out, that I can handle it. And that's what that kind of means by that. And same thing with the humor. The control edge humor means to be a little bit funny every now and then, but in a controlled manner. Like I'm not just saying the F word randomly. I'm not just saying blah blah blah, blah, right? Like F you and shut your freaking mouth, you stinky boo head, right? Because that would be controlled, right? It's not going too far. It's not going like, well, just for the sake of it. Because there are people out there that probably have that. There's probably these channels that are so dumb that they do the most ridiculous things, not having any balance to anything, and then it goes out there, and then people are literally like, there's probably younger people who watch them, and they're putting out this crappy information, and they're spreading stupidity. Okay, so there you go. Like that's what I don't like, and that's why I'm not doing that, and that's why you'll probably never see anything on a channel that I create that is so off the wall that it's like literally stupid, or what's the word, like trashy, right? There's no trashiness on. I don't want trashiness, okay? Like, for all intents and purposes, if I do something joke around, honestly, for the most part, I kind of strive for some class too. That's what I mean. There's no gross out really. The jokes are relatively clean with controlled edge. Okay, so that's the best. That's it, right? There's no me looking gross. There's no, like. And here's the other thing, right? While I'm on this subject, I've come up with a few things of my own, right? I don't want to break space here, but I've come up with ideas of my own. Well, here's another one for you. Okay? Do you know what actors are? Do they have an it factor, right? You might find this somewhere else. I've made another channel. If you can probably find it, maybe you will if you're not. It's not even that hard to find. But actors, for example, have an it factor, right? So if you think about it, I'm doing my way of presenting that too on a channel, right? Because that's what works, okay? And I'll tell you why. I don't know why nobody's come up with this. Because they're not as smart as me, but okay, let me put it this way. Think of some of your favorite actors, or maybe they're not even actors, right? Maybe they're wrestlers, maybe they're in politics, which is definitely not my favorites. But anyway, right? People have a personality, right? They have their thing, they have their niche. You see what I'm getting at? I have some of that here on this as well as my own, right? But that is acting, right? Do you think somebody wants, when someone goes on a video, let me tell you something. It's real, but you know what else it is? It's acting, okay? And I'll tell you why, right? I'm relating. It's not the same thing, right? It's not exactly acting. But do you think somebody wants to come on looking like a bum? And if they do, is that going to present themselves a good way? No. No. I like saying no a lot too sometimes. But you see what I mean? They want to present themselves in a way that it's positive. It spreads goodness. It spreads something not only positive, maybe about themselves, but like it's gonna look good out there for other people. Maybe somebody else will get something from it. So that's what I mean. I'm relating it to that because that's what works, okay? And here's another thing. While we're on subjects of like great ideas and amazing concepts that I come up with, um, cinematic gameplay, right? Again, and I'm probably gonna go further with this too. This is gonna be really freaking cool. And if the more I do that, start getting the gameplays recorded again, I'm just gonna have to get more equipment probably. Bro, like once I get some of that going, it's probably gonna shatter the world like nobody's come up with this, right? And why haven't they? Because they're not me, right? I play these games sometimes, and again, I'm gonna get the gameplays again going probably as soon as I can, but well, it probably might take a while. But you know, and it's one of my personal. I played the video games, but sometimes, for example, the Batman games, the Batman Arkham games, I would play them in ways that like sometimes like I'm just gonna do really good, but then I would like juggle the sticks and move the camera, like so that it looks cool. Like it's like Batman's like speeding to hell and clotheslining someone, and then the camera like goes here and then it stops here, right? So you see what I mean? Like if I can put that into the games and then also have fun with them, because again, that's another thing. I could go all kinds of directions with my opinions on games and where they're going now, how they, for the most part, but I haven't played some of the new ones. Resident Evil looks great for the one that came out. A 007 maybe, and a GTA 6. Anyway, so my point there was like, again, no one's gonna beat this, right? No one's. If I fully into this to that idea at some point, which I probably will, probably right. Anyway, no one's gonna do it as good as me. I'm sorry, like you're not going to. Okay, because I just know what I'm talking about as far as that, right? If I can see movies, if I can see acting, and I can see it factor, and then I love video games, and I could play them, and then put that all together, and then also have the ability to edit, right? You've seen how I've edited things sometimes on the channel. That's it, baby. Once I start doing that, if I want to do that, sorry, but your cookies are gonna be crumbled, okay? Anybody who wants to try and copy that idea or do it better than me, you ain't gonna do it if and when I choose to do that, right? It's combining cinematic elements, right? Or geek characters or it factors. And then the idea of rockers and wrestling, which again is connected to it factor, right? What is it factor, right? Well, for the most part, it's a successful personality. That's what I see it, right? Somebody who can like present themselves well or be likable or be cool, or you know what I mean? Like, so if I could come up with that and then implement that all together, which all relates into that, sorry, but your turkeys are toasted, baby boys. You're done, okay? It's over. It's not really over, but you know what I mean? That's part of the joke, okay? At that point, once I start doing that, if I choose to do so, I ain't gonna smack you in the spink. Then that's it, okay? It'll probably start growing, like to the exponential rate, right? It will excel, okay? It will excel like the Excel
Microsoft Office, traction ability, or aka the software in your fucking face, okay? That's it. And everyone will love it. That's why it would happen. People would love it. They would probably like the videos. They'd probably give them a thumbing. They'd probably throw their hands up in the air like they just care. And we'd all have happy together. Okay, that was a joke, but you see what I mean? That's part of it. So I'm gonna leave it there. Pretty much. There was one more. Oh, I already said to control it. So there you go. That's it. Okay. No one came up with these ideas but me. No one's probably gonna do some of them as well as me. And hey, we're all having fun here though. If you're on this channel, if you enjoy my stuff, you're a beast. Oh, that was the last thing. I might as well mention this right too. Excuse me. Which is the idea of real ones. Okay. Because this is cool. I think this is going to be great too when you hear this one. I'm going to go a little bit further into that. I've just put real ones in the post. If you're not looking at the post, what are you doing? You should be looking at the post, by the way. Thank you so much. Real ones. That to me, what does that mean, right? Well, it kind of describes me in a way and also describes what I like to see as people that watch it, right? Real, meaning you like to do what you like to do. You're not like always swayed by opinions. You don't backstab your friends. You don't do evil things. You don't be a bad person. For the most part, just chill. You can keep to yourself, or you're real. You have authenticity, right? You're not like a nasty person. You're just real. You just is what it is, right? You're not trying to fake something all the time or be down in the dumps or negative. So that's it. That's what real ones are. That's what we're here for, right? To be the real ones. We stick with each other. We're cool with each other. We do generally the right thing, and we're not, like held down by everything else. I'm not here to be held down by negativity. It's supposed to be the real one, which is authentic and go higher, level up, next level, be cool, be chill, and that's that. And that's pretty much it. It's gonna be an epic ending to this one for me. Just saying that, stay real, be the real ones, next levels, and then if you're a real one and you're cool and you're chill and you keep going forward on things, then that's it, right? It at some point it could become unstoppable and you do what you want, like, and you're not hurting anyone. It's all positive progress. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching. And to go out, might as well go out. That was one hell of a video, huh? The better way to end it is a smoke. See you in the next level. Stay wise, a little bit of wisecracking, and control that humor. Ain't nothing wrong with it as far as I'm concerned. So, be chill. Raise right positively.